All right, folks, I'm so sorry about the delay. My dog decided that she wanted to go for her afternoon walk a little early, and I've been chasing her around the neighborhood. But luckily, some hot dogs made her come back, and now I'm ready to get started. So I'm really excited to be working with you. My name is Amanda Anderson. Can everyone just go to the chat pod on the side and just say, hi, my name is blank? It will be easier to know that people are listening to me, and the people that are listening are the people who should be listening to me and not just random strangers on the interweb. So you can, I'm going to share my screen with you. So it's going to look kind of funny, but I want to show you this over here. So you can see this chat pod over here. Now you see it a million times, but sorry about the delay in my chat pod. So if you could write your name in your chat pod in the Google Hangout, that would be great. I'm going to stop presenting my screen now just so you don't have to look at this weird one. And can everyone see this now? This chat pod on the right-hand side. I'm not seeing anything in the chat pod, so I just want to make sure that we are good to go. I'm going to stop presenting to everyone. If you need to get into the chat pod and you can't find it, look for the little blue button on the left-hand side of your screen that says chat. Yes, no, maybe so. I have 20 viewers now. 22. Keeps going. Okay. Well, while you figure that out, I'm just going to get started. I don't need the chat function for anything else, but I thought it would be an easy way of showing who's here. So right now I teach at Woodruff High School. It's kind of near the board office. I'm not sure if that's where you were yesterday with Kimberly or not, but it's kind of near the big IKEA. I teach languages. So I teach new Canadians how to speak English. My students this semester are probably about a year or a year and a half into their journey into living in Canada. Most of my students are Arabic speakers. Most of my students are from Syria because Canada took in a large contingent of Syrian refugees in the last couple of years. But a couple of my students are from other places in the world, like Africa and Asia. I want to show you two things in this session, two of the things that I'm using in my class. And one of them is Google Classroom, which you already have a basis in. And so I thought that it might be useful to see how other teachers are using it, considering you're going to be going on your practicum in a little bit. So I'm going to show you what my Google Classroom looks like. And I'm going to share this with you. And what I want to do is take you into my Google Classroom. So here's my Google Classroom. And I use this for lots of things, but mostly as a hub for my students to extend the classroom outside of the classroom space. You can see I'm posting on it fairly regularly. That's from today, that's from yesterday, that's from Friday. This is from like the week before. And then this is the 5 days before that. So generally once a week or twice a week, but sometimes it's more than that depending on what we're doing. And one of the main things that I use it for is content curation. So content curation being putting stuff in an accessible place for my students. So here's a task that we're doing right now, and I wanted to show it to you for the reason that I think it might be useful. And it's called a hyperdoc. So a hyperdoc is basically a fancy Google Doc that has links. And I think that you're probably getting familiar with Google Docs, or you're already familiar with Google Docs right now. So I'm going to show this to you. Take a look for a second. You can see that my students' pictures are all on the screen. There's a very simple instruction. I'm just going to make the screen a little bit smaller so we can see the whole thing. And so you can see I've taken all of my students' pictures from our student management system, and I've just put a little screen cap there. So the instructions is pick one boy and one girl. Click on the picture to see their Canva. Now, you don't know what a Canva is yet, but my students would be familiar with this name, so they know what I was talking about. And then what they're doing is writing a paragraph for each student using the information on that thing. So I'm going to just click on a student's. So here's Farah. If I was doing this on my phone, it's also phone friendly, and this link wouldn't pop up. It would just I'd be able to click on the picture and it would go straight to the document. So this is linking to an outside source. So here is Farah's Canva. It's something that he created. It's the closest to an infographic. So if you've heard of infographics, that is basically what it is. And they've used a template. So all of them look the same. I'm just going to go to a couple other ones for you so you can see the differences. This one's deciding to be choosy with my login information. There we go. So we've got Mohammed. You can see the structure is basically the same. There's 6 items here, then there's a My Family category, and then there's 3 sentences here. I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger for us. So here we go. So the student has changed the background and added different pictures, but you can see that all the information is basically the same. Let's go to one more. All right, so here's Hadil's. Perfect. So I'm going to make Hadil's bigger so you can see it in all its glory. I had a lot of experience in my class with personal information. So this is extending on that. This is a picture of my student. She had to upload that picture through this area here. So that's a very important skill for students to learn. She has her name here. She's got 6 pieces of information here. And she's got 3 sentences here with images that she's uploaded. These are her own personal images. So students are able to enjoy their creative side when creating this infographic. I teach them how to use the software in stages, but what I like about it is that it links with the students' Gmail accounts. So the Gmail account is something that every student has, and I encourage them to use it for everything. Since we use it for Google Classroom as well, they're very familiar with linking to their Google accounts. And I read all of your discussion board posts. And one of the participants, I don't know if you're in this session or not, was talking about blending the technology with traditional learning. So to make this as a technological task, they had to collaborate with each other. They're sometimes collaborating in English, sometimes collaborating in Arabic, but they're learning how to use a new software. They're showing their resilience, they're not giving up, and they're using a platform that is almost entirely in English. There are these nice infographics here to kind of give you an idea of what each thing is. But once we get into the actual tabs, this elements tab, you have to be able to English to understand what these things are. So like, is this a picture? No, it's a frame. So if you don't understand frame, you need to be very useful to you. The way that I'm blending it with traditional is that I'm encouraging the student to time that they're working on this, the pace, the place, and I'm encouraging them to your competencies that you were talking about in the discussion board, like collaboration and creativity. Part of this task is actually a paragraph. So they have a safe space to play with this because they know it's not being marked. They need to write a paragraph based off of that information. So, example, because they haven't done the second part of this task yet, so I can't show it to you. But let's say I'm student X and I want to use Hadil's infographic to write my paragraph. What I'd be looking for is using this information to write a paragraph about Hadil. Like, her name is Hadil, so I need to use the pronoun her and the pronoun she appropriately, which is something we've been working about. All of these pronouns here are I and my because Hadil wrote this infographic, but I would need to write she, and then I'll need to change the verb as well because it's in the past tense, and with her and she, it changes. So like 17 years old, her birthday is was on November 10th, 2000. I also might have to fix some spelling mistakes. Hadil might not have been grammatically correct in her sentence. So instead of saying my 2011-10, I might put a period here and say her birthday is on November 10th, 2000. A lot of things students can do with this infographic, but at the end of the day with this task, my students are writing it. No bells and whistles, just writing a paragraph for 2 students. So I'm just going to pop back to the live event to see if anyone's figured out the chat pod. I'm going to stop screen sharing. Here I am again. And I'm not seeing any. Again, if your screen is in a Google Hangout screen, if you open up the chat pod on the left-hand side, it's a little blue box that looks like somebody speaking, like a speech bubble, and you should be able to chat with me here. I swear. Conversely, I don't know if you're viewing this in YouTube, but you can also leave comments on the video and I will follow up with some resources afterwards. The thing I wanted to show you just very quickly, but we started late. Is the interaction portion on Google Classroom. So people are talking about engaging their students. One of the ways that I'm engaging students is with Edpuzzle. I'll talk a little bit about Edpuzzle in the second session as well, since this session was cut short. Edpuzzle is a way that you add videos, make a video or find a video, not a student, and add questions to increase engagement. So for example, this one is on present versus past tense, and they're identifying the spelling of a couple of the verbs that we've been working on in class. So Edpuzzle is a tool that you can use to make a video that you're showing in class a little. And Edpuzzle will be good old-fashioned way. I think that was a link just for students. So through Edpuzzle, I can search through a variety of videos here. Video. They've given me a bunch of options. I can search YouTube, I can search a TED Talk, National Geographic. So if I wanted, for my math people or my science people out there, if I wanted to do a lesson on muscles, here's a 10-minute video on muscles, and maybe I'd want to put questions throughout it. So if I go to my content here, I've got the video looking at today, little voiceover clip here where I'm giving them the instructions in my own words. So they're not hearing it from some random person, they're hearing it from me. I'm also speaking slower, understand, and they can play that clip multiple times. And every one of these green, I'm just going to turn the volume down so you don't have to hear it. Every one of these green clips is a question that I've made up. Heard. Hit this blue button, they can listen to the clip again as many times as they want. But they can also skip the question if I choose for them to skip it, or I can take this function off. So every single one of these questions to hopefully engage them in the process rather than them just sitting in their seats passively. You can see some of the questions I've done are multiple choice. And then some of the questions I've got little short answer questions. Vary the type of questions in my work. So at the end, so this is a 2-minute video, and I'm asking them to list all the verbs that they can remember from the video. So they have to think about comprehension, what actually happened in the video. Okay, she went to the store, she got married. And this helps with their comprehension because this is an area that my students in particular struggle in. It's kind of a tricky way of accessing comprehension in a grammar way. I'm going to post all the information from this session in the Google Classroom. I have it here. So the first session was cut short and go into the second session now, and we can continue this conversation.